You really have this outside today.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous day. Thank God. Those little
Yeah.
bits of warmth and sunlight make such a big difference.
Yeah.
I was telling someone this morning, it's like these little glimmers of spring, but then others tell me there's more winter to come. So I guess we'll take what we get. All right, great to see everybody on this Wednesday afternoon. We're going to do a Rashi from Parshas Pekudei, an interesting Rashi from the beginning of the Parsha, as the Torah tells us a little bit about the actual construction project of the Mishkan. After in Vayakhel, we see all the materials gathered. Beginning of Pekudei, we have, of course, the accounting and then the construction and the actual inauguration of the Mishkan. At the beginning of the Parsha, the Torah tells us, Uvetzalel ben Uri ben Hur lemate Yehuda, Betzalel, the son of Uri, the son of Hur, from the tribe of Yehuda. We discussed this last week. Betzalel's tribe versus Eliab's tribe, Yehuda and Dan, the highest, the lowest. Asas kol asher tziva Hashem es Moshe. Betzalel, the chief architect, chief artisan of the Mishkan, did everything Hashem had commanded Moshe. Rashi immediately notes that the pasuk really should not have said kol asher tziva Hashem es Moshe, but kol asher tziva oso Moshe. Betzalel never spoke to Hashem. Moshe was the one who commanded Betzalel, and yet when he's fulfilling the mitzvah, fulfilling the project, it says that Betzalel followed what Hashem had told Moshe. How would Betzalel know what Hashem told Moshe? All Betzalel knows is what Moshe told him. Ein ksiv kan ela es kol asher tziva Hashem es Moshe. Instead of saying asas kol asher tziva oso Moshe, everything Moshe commanded him, which it doesn't say, it says all that Hashem had commanded Moshe. What that teaches us is afil dvarim shelo amar lo rabo eskima daita l'masheneh amar l'Moshe b'Sinai. He, Betzalel, was on such a high level that he was able to follow through even on the things that his master Moshe didn't tell him about the original conversation between Hashem and Moshe. Meaning, Hashem gave Moshe the instructions. Moshe gave those instructions over in a certain way to Betzalel. Betzalel, instead of fulfilling them in the way that Moshe gave them over to him, actually fulfilled them in the way that Hashem had originally given them to Moshe, which is why the pasuk singles out that he followed Asher Tziva Hashem es Moshe. He followed everything Hashem had commanded Moshe rather than everything that Moshe had commanded him. Now, as a classic example over here, there's different versions of Rashi. The Rashi here in the Al HaTorah site, which I use, stops right there. But the actual more complete version of Rashi, based on the Gemara and other Mamarei Chazal, is the standard Rashi you'll find in most Chumashim. And so I'm bringing it up here on Sefaria, so you'll see the more complete version. It starts the same way. Okay. What does that all mean? What was the conversation between Hashem and Moshe? And how did that differ between the conversation in Moshe and Betzalel, to which Betzalel actually overrides and go back to the original conversation as pointed to in the Pasuk and the Rashi? So he explains further here. This is the longer version of Rashi. Ki Moshe tziva leBetzalel lasos tchila kelem v'achar kach mishkan. If you look back, Moshe actually commands Betzalel first to make the vessels of the Mishkan and then to make the Mishkan itself. Amar lo Betzalel. Betzalel, in this imaginary conversation, says back to Moshe, wait a second, really? You want me to build the shulchan, the menorah, the mizbeach, and then build the curtains and the walls and the poles and the actual structure of the Mishkan? Really? Minhag ha'olam lasos tchila bais v'achar kach meisim kelim betocho. The general practice in the world, the minhag ha'olam, is first to make a home and then to fill it with the stuff. You don't go and buy furniture unless you first have a home to be able to put it in. Amar lo kach shamati mipi HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He says back to him, this is what I heard from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Amar lo Moshe betzel el ha'isa. If that's what you heard from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that first you're supposed to make the home and then you're supposed to make the kelim, then you must have been there to hear God's original word, because that's not what I gave over to you. What I gave over to you was first build the kelim and then build the Mishkan. First build the vessels and then the home. If this is what you heard and this is what you surmised based on the minhag ha'olam, you must have been there to hear it directly from God. Because I know what Hashem commanded me. And therefore, sorry, I think I skipped the line here. You must have been in the shadow of God. That's how Betzalel gets his name. Betzel Kel. Betzalel is in the shadow of God. You must have been there in the shadow of God. Because that is what Hashem commanded me, but that's not what I gave over to you. And therefore, now as he's going through it, if you look in the accounting here of our parsha, you'll see that Betzalel actually does fulfill the building of the Mishkan first and then the Kalim. It's a whole interesting discussion, really, about why Moshe deviated from that which HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him, and why Betzalel goes back to the original command. And I don't have so much time to go into all the ins and outs and the different perspectives on that, but what I will share with you here is I think Maharal, others explain that the core machlokas here between Betzalel and Moshe about the order of what is to be built is more of a theoretical versus practical conversation. Moshe Rabbeinu presents to Betzalel the order as first to build the implements and then to build the structure of the home, because in a theoretical realm, what he's trying to convey is the most important part is the kalim. It's not the actual structure. The structure was just there to house the kalim. The structure was there to create a place of worship. But the kalim, the vessels, the mizbeach, the place to make sacrifices, the aron, which contain luchos, those were the important parts. And so on a theoretical level, or on a level of importance, Moshe Rabbeinu conveys to Betzalel first about the vessels and then about the structure. But Betzalel was taking a much more practical perspective, which is why Rashi quotes it as a conversation about minhag ha'olam. And then he goes to, wait, that's actually what Hashem commanded us to do, right? Why does he phrase it as minhag ha'olam? Maybe what Rashi's trying to convey is that Betzalel was coming with a very practical perspective, which is, it might be very nice that the vessels are the most important part, but if you don't have a place to house them, then they won't even be functional. So first you need to build a house and then you need to build the vessels. Moshe Rabbeinu is conveying to him a lesson, an idea. The lesson being that, like in all of our homes, it's really what fills the home. It's the spirit of the home. It's the actions in the home. It's the words in the home that are more important than the structure of the home itself. But on a practical level, in order to have those conversations, in order to bring out those values, in order to practice those things, you need the home around you. So in the order of practical realm, you'd first have to build the home and then bring in the vessels. This is the machlokus between Betzalel and Moshe as it's conveyed, and ultimately Betzalel carries out as it was originally commanded by Hashem, which is to first build the structure and then include the vessels, even though Moshe had told him differently. Thank you so much, everybody, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Rabbi.
You have one too.
Thank
Have a
you,
good
Rabbi.
one.
Thank you.